Hey everyone, my name is Spencer Bauke. Welcome to week 16 of Workout Wednesday Power BI edition. I want to start off by thanking everyone who's participated in our weekly challenges thus far. We've received 953 submission trackers. That is awesome. Almost to 1,000 and all of that within the past 15 weeks. So thank you to everyone who has been completing those trackers and participating in this community. We really appreciate you. So this week we are going to dive into the Charticulator. Why is this a big deal? Well, Microsoft just announced recently a public preview of this Charticulator visual. So now you can go into Power BI Desktop and download it as a custom visual. This week, we are going to go into some of the basics of Charticulator. There are a lot of cool functionalities with this tool. You can build pretty much anything you can imagine, but we're not going to dive that deep this week. We really want to show people this week kind of the basics and walk through it, and then build a pretty basic chart, but one that you weren't easily able to build before. And that is a lollipop chart, as you can see here. So let's look at the requirements. We need to connect to the Superstore dataset. The Superstore dataset should sound familiar for anyone coming from the Tableau world, where it's the standard sample dataset that comes along with Tableau Desktop. Now we need to create a lollipop chart, and then we'll need to show the sum of sales by the state. And then we'll have to color each of these states by the region, change our title, make the legend make sense, and then add in the slicer. All right, so let's get started. Let's start by getting our data from data.world. And if you're unfamiliar with data.world, this is where we've been posting some of our data sets. And so you can see here, we have our data set, and in the top right, you can go here, and I've opened data sets with Tableau and then now with Power BI, and you're able to come here, click on Power BI, and you're able to see some of the prompts that we're gonna need to open this in data.world. So now I've opened Power Query. Let's come here and click More. Now let's go down to the bottom where some of the beta connectors are. I believe data.world is one of them down here. So if we go to, let's see, maybe I'm just missing it. Data.world right here. So if we click on data.world, connect, okay. Okay, now we can go back and use some of those fields that we just copied. So I'm going to so I already know my username, and we're going to click on that data set. So this is my name, and then our data set ID, we're going to click OK. And this is going to connect to data.world. So if you haven't already logged into data.world, I would suggest doing so. It'll make you authenticate, but I've already logged in, so it doesn't make me do that. So it's going to give you the 3 tables that are within our data model, and I'm going to select each of them and say OK. Now I'm going to press close and apply, and I'm going to bring the data set into desktop. All right, so as this loads here, we can, all right, can go in, make sure that our data model is set up appropriately. We're actually not going to be using the returns table in this, so it is fine how it is. All right, so how to make this visual using Charticulator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our visualizations pane because it's not in here natively. We're going to come in here and we're going to say get more visuals, and that'll bring up this menu for the visuals that are available in our app source. So if we come here and we type Charticulator, that's going to pop up. So now we can add the Charticulator custom visual. It was imported successfully. Well, that's good to hear. All right, so you can come here and we're going to click on the visual and it's going to populate a blank Charticulator visual into our report canvas. So now what we need to do is let's start out by putting the data in that we want to the data fields. We already know what view we're going for. We're going for state, region, and sum of sales. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring in state, region, and the sales fields into our data. So we're going to be able to adjust these later too. So this isn't, you're not like locking this in right now, but let's start off doing that. And so now what we're going to want to do is let's go and click edit. And now you can see that we have the ability to create a chart or import a template. These would be grayed out if we did not have data over here. So you can create a custom chart, a lot of custom abilities, and we're going to dive into those in later weeks. But for now, we're just going to start off with our templates. They're a little easier, and the one that we want to make, the lollipop chart, already has a template, so I'm going to do that. So let's go ahead and let's click import template. And I've already downloaded the template from their website. So if you go to charticulator.com, they have templates for you, and the lollipop chart is right here. And you can see that I just clicked the template button, it downloaded the data set, and now we're ready to rock and roll. So let me click the lollipop chart template, click open. So now we have to map the different fields that they used in their template to fields that correspond to something in our data set. So in their data set, they had region of the world, so Europe, Oceania, Asia, and then they had country. That kind of is like our region and our state mapping, and then of course the number of population is our sum of sales. So we're going to click Save Mapping. Wow, you can already see that we have some sort of visual already created for us here. That's pretty cool. So let's start with the easy fix here. Actually, let me take a step back. Let's start with an intro to where some things are placed around the screen. So you can see here that this is your actual viz, but it is controlled by a lot of the things over here to your right. So your glyph is actually editing your mark in here, which is part of your layers. So let's go down to this layer. So layers represents everything that is here on your canvas. So your legend. Anytime you click on one of these, it opens up the attributes area, and you can format each of these elements within your layers down here in the attributes. Over to the right, you have your scales on which things start and end, and you also have the fields of data involved in your viz. So if we go back to our requirements, it's to fix the title, put the legend underneath, and then to format this a little bit more appropriately to achieve our end goal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off by clicking on our title here, and you can see that it's highlighted over here in the layers pane. I'm going to go down to my attributes. I'm going to rename this sales by state. I'm going to make it Arial black, just make it a little bit more bold, make it a little bigger because I can. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to get this legend a little bit under here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm actually going to move this first guide that this chart is tied to right here, I'm going to move it down just a little bit because we need to make some space for both our legend and our years slicer that we're going to put in here as well. So before we do this, what I want to do is I'm going to put in a guide, and this guide is actually going to be where I anchor my legend to. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to make sure that I go to my guide right here, and I'm going to make my guide, I'm going to say 30, and this is again going to be where I put my legend in just 1 second. So I'm going to take this little green dot by legend, I'm going to go and I'm going to tie this to there. If I go and click save, you'll see that everything here locks into place. So if I go back and click on my legend, now I can do some more formatting of it down here at the bottom. Let's make the orientation horizontal, and I'm going to make it middle aligned on this guide. So when you see these things, it's saying what is aligned to in relationship to your guide lines here. So I'm going to make it middle aligned, horizontal. I gotta make it middle, under. I'm just going to make it, actually I'm going to make it middle aligned with it, just so I know I have enough space. So now things are looking pretty good. I got my legend where I want it. I want these numbers to be a little smaller. They're really crunched together. So if I click on here, I know this is corresponding to my chart, but I'm actually going to want to customize my glyph here. So if I come over here and see Illinois, Illinois is actually what I want to format. Same with this other text box, text 2, right? So those texts are also found here because it's under my glyph. This is just specifically to the mark, and then these are the different elements in this glyph. So if I come here, text 1 corresponds to my state. So I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to make it font size 10. I'm going to do the same thing to my text 2, and you can see that it's a little bit easier it's a little easier on the eye to read. Now, a quick little formatting thing that I'm also going to do is I actually don't want this decimal here, so I'm going to take that off, and I'm actually going to format this in dollars since we are talking sales. Okay. So far, it looks pretty much how I was imagining this looking. So let's click save, and let's go back to the report. Sweet, so now you'll see that this is showing in our report canvas. Since I already have a title already built into this, I'm going to turn off the title for the Charticulator viz itself. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And now I'm going to format the size of my report. This was not in the requirements, but I think it just is going to make it look a little bit better. So I'm going to reduce my width to about 700 and increase my height to about 900. That way I can just space out these items just a little bit better. Sweet. So now that we've created our main visual, the last thing we have to create is our slicer. So I'm going to go into my normal visuals, grab my slicer, and then let's use the year from our order date as the values. I don't necessarily want it to look like this, so let's make this, well, let's actually make this horizontal. So if we put it like this, we can come here to our general, choose horizontal for our orientation, and now it's across. So I know this is years. I'm going to turn the slicer header off. So I'm going to format these, and it's actually cool, right? If you, based upon how you change a layout, the layout of the little tiles will change. So in this case, I want to do it this way. I'm going to line them up kind of across the legend like so, space them appropriately. Let's see, oops, not me to do that. There we we go. Okay, so we can go up just a little bit. Okay, let's see here. Okay, it looks like maybe my layers are missed. Okay, there we go. There's my slicer. Okay, I just clicked on. I'm going to use my mouse here real quick. I'm actually going to crunch these down just a little bit more. Over. Okay, sweet. Awesome. So let's close these out. And now let's click on my year. So now I'm slicing by the order year in each of these visuals. So, and if I want to see them all combined, I could just click off. So now you're combining your Charticulator viz with the slicer, which is not from your Charticulator, and you're able to make those interact. So this is our solution. This is, like I said, this is a basic use of Charticulator. We will dive in later on some of the cooler functionalities, but I hope this has helped give everyone a little bit of an idea on how to use Charticulator and how, you know, to set yourself up for more learning in the future and some use cases. And I'm sure that you can go ahead and play around with it just based upon what we did today and either spruce this up or make it look a different way that you want it to look. But either way, this was the goal of this week. If you created this visualization, you have achieved this week's challenge. Thank you so much for participating, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people create. Feel free to, you know, add on or do some cool things if you're wanting to dive a little deeper. Would be interested to see what everyone could come up with. But thanks again for participating, and make sure to post your submissions to social media so we can take a look at all the awesome stuff you're doing. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.